So I was just preparing. Hi everyone. So I have Jeremy Britton here with us, one of the speakers for the Understanding Money conference. And I'm going to get him to just share a little bit about himself with us for a moment. So when you're ready, Jeremy, over to you.
Thank you, Destiny. I'm very excited to be coming and speaking to the youth at the Understanding Money conference. I have been a youth for very many years now. So yeah, I'm a teenager with like 20 years experience. I've also had a lot of experience in the financial world. I've been financial planning for 25 years. I've had my own business for essentially most of that time. I've had a dozen businesses and learned a lot of things that I didn't learn when I was really a teenager. I learned a lot of things I didn't learn from my parents or my teachers or at school. So it's been interesting noting how the schooling system did not prepare me at all for the real world. And I think it's fantastic that you're actually teaching these skills to the youth today so they can actually learn what they don't learn at school and how to cope in the real world.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So my first question would be, from your perspective, where does money come from?
Well, money to me is just an exchange of value. It's just something that we use, whether it's kopecks or rubles or dollars or gold or Bitcoin or whatever it is. And it's just something that we use in a value exchange. So, you know, if you cut my hair and I mow your lawn, you know, we can do favors for each other or we can barter goods. Money is just an easy way of exchanging value. And people come to me and say, you know, how do I make more money? I say, well, send out more value, because the more value you send out to the world, then the more money will come back to you. And it doesn't just need to be working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, because I've tried that. It's not good. But obviously, a brain surgeon adds more value than an Uber driver because it's a more complicated procedure. So a brain surgeon might work 1 hour and gets paid more than an Uber driver would get paid if he worked for 24 hours. That's the value that you give by the sweat of your brow, the work of your hands, your intellectual property, your creativity. You might create logos or paintings or whatever it is. And whatever you send out in the world, the value, the money will come back to you. And it's just what you choose to accumulate. Some people give a lot of value out and don't accept money, and they end up with lots and lots of friends but no cash. And some people accumulate money and accumulate things, and that's good too. So it's just a format, you know, cash in any form.
Perfect. Thank you. So my second question would be, how do you feel the Understanding Money conference will be a benefit to our youth and our future?
As I said before, like I went to school for 18 years. I went to private schools and, you know, all the very best education. But I just learned how to be an employee. I learned how to, you know, learn things from school, and then you regurgitate them in the test, and you learn how to submit a resume, and you learn how to get a job, and you learn how to work for someone else. But you don't really learn creative thinking. You don't really learn, you know, how to be in business. You don't learn how to get a mortgage, how to buy an investment property, how to start your own business. These things are not taught in normal schools. And so we're raising generations of kids now, you know, for the last, I don't know, probably 100 years since we've had this education system, for a world that doesn't exist anymore. And, you know, you hear on the news all the time, there's kids out there having startups in their garages and inventing apps and that sort of stuff. But there's only the small minority who are doing that. And when you look at the guys who started Google and became billionaires, they didn't go to a normal school. They went to a Steiner school. It was very creative. It was very different. And a lot of these kids, like, you know, Mark Zuckerberg didn't go to a normal school and learn how to do what he did. So I think understanding money, understanding how the world works, and looking at where the economy is going to in the next millennium, even the next 10 years, where we're looking at a lot of the jobs are disappearing because robots are taking over. You know, you've got automatic teller machines replace the bank tellers. You've got automatic scanning your groceries have replaced the checkout chicks. And you're going to have driverless cars now and things like that. So a lot of the menial jobs, a lot of the less skilled labor jobs are disappearing, and that will continue to happen. They've got artificial intelligence now that's going to take over from some of the counselors and therapists and doctors and things like that. So you've really got to look at, you know, are you preparing yourself and studying for a world that won't exist, for a job that won't exist? Really, I think learning these skills when you're young gives you the best start, and also learning to be adaptable, learning to be flexible and change with the technology as the technology changes, as the world changes. So.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Thank you. The other question that I have for you is, in your opinion, how do you believe your life may have varied and been different if you had some resources or conferences like this that you were taken to in your youth?
That's a really good question. Because again, I spent like 12 years, 13 years at school learning how to get a job, and then realizing that I didn't actually want to get a job. I didn't like being told what to do by somebody else. I wanted to do my own thing. And I started my first business when I was 19. I quit university to start my first business. And after 6 months in business, I'd lost all my money, because it didn't matter how smart I was at school or how clever I was at university. I didn't have street smarts. I didn't have business education. And so with my tail between my legs, I moved in with mum and dad and started waiting tables and getting myself out of the financial hole, and then went back and started another business. And all the time I was learning, the second time I started the second business, I got a business coach. And I learned a lot more, but I learned a lot through my mistakes. As I didn't go to Harvard Business School, and having Harvard Business School teaching 18 and 19-year-olds how to get MBAs, maybe we could be teaching the 14-year-olds or the 11-year-olds how to start a business. Because you talk to any 5 or 6-year-old, they know how to solve all the world's problems. And they can all use iPads and DVD players and stuff better than what we can. So getting this information, getting this education into the hands of the youth, I think is vital. Would have changed my life dramatically if I had known how to start and run a business when I was at school. Like, we don't even do driver's ed in Australia like what they do in America. So the kids in America actually graduate school, they all know how to drive, whereas kids in Australia have to go and do that off their own bat. It'd be interesting to have an education system where you actually taught not just a foreign language, but taught, here's how to be in business and here's how to get a job. So you've got both skills, and then you can choose, rather than everybody being taught how to get a job. And where are you going to get the jobs? Because somebody's got to start the businesses to give you the jobs. Someone's got to have that education. If it's not provided through the schooling system, then where else are you going to get it? I think my life would be dramatically different if I'd learned these skills. I would have been a millionaire at 19 rather than at 35.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I would have benefited so much with these tools as well. I was always seeking out alternative ways. I used to fantasize about how I could figure out and meet people to strategize on how I could be successful as a grown-up when I was in school. And that was why the current school system wasn't really what resonated to me. So I'm really excited for this conference and hearing you speak. But the last question that I have for you is, what do you believe are the biggest interesting, exciting things that will be at the conference for our youth to want to be there and to want to get involved in understanding money?
I think it'd be interesting, exciting for young people to actually mix with some of the more experienced people. I won't call them older people. A lot of people have read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and wouldn't have been great if you had this billionaire living next door. If Richard Branson was your next door neighbor and you learn tricks and skills off of him. Because I didn't learn much about business. I didn't learn anything about business from my teachers at school or from my own parents. It was only after I left home that I started to meet other people. And when I went and got a job, and I had to work alongside people who weren't my peer group, because all my friends were the same age as me. And my parents' friends were similar to my parents, in the fact that they had jobs and that sort of stuff. So when you get out and you mix with people who are not from your normal background, and you meet a plumber and you meet a doctor and you meet a dentist and you meet a removalist and you meet someone who's from a different field, it starts your brain thinking in a different way, and you start thinking more creatively. And then you get contacts and connections which become new currency, which become new value. I mean, there's someone said, your net wealth will never exceed your network. So you got to know a guy who knows a guy. And when someone comes to you and says, hey, I want to buy a new car, I want to get a new house, or I want to renovate my whatever it is, if you know someone who knows someone, that's value that you're adding to the equation. You don't have to renovate their house, but if you know a good house renovator, then you can put them in contact. That's you adding value to the world, and that will send value or cash back to you at some stage. So I think it's fantastic just be mixing with people in a different environment, because you don't have that at school. Even work experience may not give that to you, because it's all about getting jobs rather than looking at businesses or investing or other avenues. There's many ways of making money, getting cash. Most people just think, I need to get a job and get a wage. But what about royalties? You know, what about business? What about dividends? What about yield? What about rent? You know, there's lots and lots of ways of making money. And if you're only taught one way, then you're pretty well handicapped, because you don't know the other 18 different ways of making money when that avenue dries up, when you lose your job. You know, when you're an Uber driver and everybody's got a driverless car, what do you do now? You've got to have something else that you can do. So valuable life skills. Come along, kids, join in. It'll be great.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm really excited about it as well, and I can really relate to that. I can only imagine, you know, where I would be from where I'm already at if I had some of these skills. And I feel like a really beneficial thing as well, being able to connect with mentors, and also having, you know, the adults who A, don't know as much about money as they can, or B, they want to take responsibility for taking a youth that they know, whether it be someone that they're like sponsoring to help out, whether it be a relative, a sibling, a child, just a friend's kids. If you're interested and your friends aren't able to come along, it's something that I feel is really important for us in the world, for the economy and for the sustainability, for us to get back into a state of prosperity consciousness as well. So I'm really excited to hear you speak at the conference. And for anybody watching this, I'll be posting links in the videos as well to our Facebook event, so that people can get all the details to come along to the conference. It will also be, some of the conference will be live streamed to the New Youth The Real World Facebook page, but only aspects of that will be there. So if you're not in Australia and you're not able to come along, you will get to see some of it. So, but please make sure, like the page, support us, or write us a review. And I look forward to seeing you at our conference. Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been a pleasure.
Fantastic. Thank you. Chat to you soon.
Bye.